So here I am beginning to, excuse me, cut out the doves that I printed yesterday. Now these aren't quite dry, so I wouldn't recommend anybody do this just the very next day because I was using linseed ink. So I did do quite a thin coat, but at the same time there will be some rubbing of colour, which you can see on my hands. So I started off with my fancy small scissors, but actually in fact what I needed was my bigger studio scissors.
It was mid-March, and I just going back from the US where everything was shutting down around me. And because we had this team of really, startup company mentality, get it done fast, in 5 days this team had developed and...
So at this stage I'm just roughly cutting around both the doves. So what I want to be able to get is them both cut out, and then I'll refine where I'm cutting and where they can be placed. Now I freehand cut these blocks, so they're not going to be absolutely exactly the same, and I'm not really that bothered about that because you'll see later on in the video that I will be gluing them together and then trimming down after I've glued them. I was lucky, in fact, because actually these blocks worked out really well. But if you're doing this, I would recommend tracing your designs onto the blocks so that you know they're exactly the same size. Now, bearing in mind that these are reverse doves, so I did my initial lino design on card in my sketchbook, and then I had to reverse that and do it twice. But I freehand onto blocks generally, but I've got years and years of printmaking experience, so if you want to know how to do that tracing, perhaps I'll do a video of that to show you guys how to do that. It sounds way more complicated. It just takes a little bit more thought and a lot of tracing paper.
Not really, no. I think because at that time clinicians were noticing anyway, and they were a bit frustrated that no one was taking interest in what they were doing. So I think as long as we were focusing on symptoms, people said we had expertise in that area, if you like. What's guided us is really the data we're getting from everybody, these million people still. Our commitment is to them and feed this back. And I think has changed the way medical apps will be done forever, because people will now expect this close interaction rather than it being one.
It's actually at this point that I've realised I've started rubbing the ink around the cards, so that's why I start holding it differently. But it never hurts to hold them differently, to be honest, to avoid marking and stuff. Sometimes I wear silicone gloves, but I actually don't mind getting messy. So but yeah, that's why I've changed the hold of how I'm holding the card and how I'm cutting, because I suddenly realised I'm a mucky pup and I got the spreading the ink everywhere because it wasn't quite dry. But don't tell anyone. Oops, I just did.
Quality of the diet was instrumental in reducing the severity of COVID, the number of hospitalizations or people who had long-term symptoms. And I think everything starts to come together about the importance of your diet on your immune system via your gut microbes, and how this has been so neglected, and how government really hasn't addressed this issue. And that's probably why the US and the UK have done so badly in terms of hospitalizations and deaths in COVID compared to other countries. It will be just the high levels of ultra-processed foods that we're eating, which are still being labelled as healthy.
I mean, it's a complex number of parameters involved here. You can't be definitive black or white.
Absolutely not. But diet is important in immune function. That diet quality.
This is where I started to get really excited, because you get to start seeing the silhouette of the dove cut out. So I've slowed down a little bit with my cut because I don't want to slice into the printed area, and also want to have a nice clean lines. I don't want sort of jaggedy cuts or anything like that. So a little bit of slowing down here, but this is where you get to really see the dove. Yeah, look, so pretty. Yeah, really pleased with that. So I'll do the same with the next dove, and in a moment I shall start some gluing.
Other area of your research career, and yet this field still is in its infancy. feel for some time yet?
I've not seen anything that's more exciting yet, but I won't stop looking. But I have a feeling that the microbes will see me out. There's so many surprises awaiting us, what they can do for us and we can do for them.
Good Inspector, thank you very much for sharing your Life Scientific.
My pleasure. The producer was Adrian Washbourne, and if you'd like to hear more of Jim's interviews, just search for the Life Scientific podcast on BBC Sounds. Now on BBC Radio 4, 1 to 1, Janet Ellis continues her exploration of the many faces of fame. And today she's with her
chuffed to bits with these guys. So you can see where they're facing different ways. That's because you've got the opposite sides of each other, which will become clear in a minute. This is the paper that I use. I've actually cropped the top bit off. It's a hand-printed printmaker's Kent paper, which is really lovely, 100 GSM, so it's perfect for a project like this. It's not too heavy, but also will, when you put it together, it doubles, so you get that nice 400, just shy of 400 GSM. So I'm actually using that as nothing goes to waste in my studio, so I'm using that as sort of area that I'm going to be gluing and prepping onto. Just out of shot, so bear with me, I'm learning with these videos. I'm new to the YouTubing community, so I promise there will be some improvements, and any hints and tips, please do drop them into the comments.
Your name is usually used as currency to make friends, actually. So I would say, my name's Sophie and my mum's on the Zika, and immediately make a chum that goes off. So in a way, my fame actually had a very odd spiritual effect on you, because that currency, whatever that was, which I thought was just lovely, because, I really enjoyed working with children and for children. But of course, not all the children who wanted to be your friends were in your class.
So I'm just using a little bit of off-cut of this card to create a glue stick. Like I said, absolutely nothing goes to waste. So yeah, I tend to just reuse, repurpose. So yeah, reversing the dove over, and then now I start to spread the glue. I use a high-tack, all-purpose, very sticky glue. It's a really nice glue. It dries clear and flexible, and it's perfect for crafts, cards, hobbies, trimmings. It's safe and non-toxic. I'm really keen on using non-toxic and eco-friendly products wherever possible. So this is water-soluble, and it won't damage plant life or sea life. So yeah, just scraping this all around, not too thick. Trying to get as close to the edge as possible, but actually I'm going to be trimming some of the edge off, so it's not a completely imperative that it goes absolutely to the edge. So you can see spreading it all around, only on one dove, and then I shall be laying the other dove over the top, and then manoeuvring them into place to get them to be sort of closest silhouette. Bear in mind as well, I think I said this before, but I freehand printed these, so I just don't know at this stage if they're going to match completely or if I've completely nosed that up. So you can see me squidging it about a little bit, moving, making sure that things stick together, getting it nice and flat. The nice thing about this glue is it's not super fast drying, so you've got a little bit of time to squidge and slide and move about. So it's not like a fast, so if you're using like a spray glue or something like that, sometimes they tack once and you're done. So that's why I actually like to use these liquid glues. I think they're really good for this. So you can see here, just refining it around, and you can see on the wing there that it's not completely matched silhouette, but actually that's why I've cut right outside. Can you see there's maybe like a 2-3 mil border that I've left, and the reason for that becomes clear now because I start to trim up. You can see I'm just trimming off those bits that I'm not happy with there, but actually that's not going to cut into the print at all, so it's just going to cut into those white pieces. As you can probably tell, it's not my first time doing this, and I've learned the hard way that actually the beauty of lino prints and where I use the way I use lino prints allows me to do this, and there's more margin for error, as it were. So actually, pretty damn pleased with this. So I'm just trying to get nice clean cuts. So I've picked up my specialist scissors. I really like these ones. They're very, very sharp though. It's like lethal if you don't store them properly. So I always keep a cork on the bottom of these ones. You can see my painted ones in the background. They're actually the ones I use most. And I don't look after them, but they are quite frankly the best scissors in the world. So not fancy. Don't even know where I got them from. I think I maybe repurposed them from Jason's toolbox.
The way they do it is quite, for want of a better word, quite respectful. You know, they might say lovely music, but they absolutely love the fact that you're still on the tube. Oh, that's nice, and I think people take their lead from you a lot. And certainly when everything was moving very fast with my career, I felt like there's sort of two ways to handle that kind of momentum and that profile. You either...
So, into the last few bits of refinement. These corner bits can be quite tricky, hence using the really, really sharp scissors that are going to give me a nice clean cut on those. So just turning around, checking, making sure all the points are going to be matching. Checking the front, checking the reverse, making sure the cuts look clean both sides. That's really important when you're creating something that's going to be hanging. So these are intended to be dual purpose, so they will be Christmas cards, but they'll be fixed with a dot so that they then become a free hanging Christmas decoration. So I just want to make sure that these look really nice and they'll stand the test of time and last for hopefully many years for my customers.
That's true, and yeah, you have to keep that sort of continuity, and maybe if there are a lot of things going on in my life.
So there we go, all done. Really pleased with those. I'm just checking the hang point here, so the tip of the wing is where I'll be adding some beautiful twine. And yeah, that is my beautiful test run of this year's limited edition Christmas card, Christmas decoration, the doves.